everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make a macrame bracelet today. This one's going to be a little different than the other macrame bracelet I made. That one it had beads on the inside of the leather. This is going to have beads on the outside of the leather. I've got this is my leather I'm using. It's 1mm Exotica, I guess is how you say that. I don't know. It's black. I've got some black Eslon here that I'm going to use to do my knots. I've got some 4mm fire polish beads here. I've got one of my, I never can remember if it's a collapsible eye needle or a flexible eye needle. It's one of them that I'm going to use at the end to secure my thread. And I've got a T-pin that I'm going to use to pin it to my macrame board. And I've got a little button here. This is a button with the holes in it. It's not a shank button. And I'm going to do a button and loop closure. And I've got my GS Hypo cement here. I've got my macrame board. I've got a couple of little 8/0s here that I think will fit on this cord that I'm going to use just to stop my beads from falling off. The buttons, I'm going to try to find all this stuff, everything that I'm using, and post a link to it in the description box below, because I oftentimes have people ask me about the things I use and ask for links. I had a lady ask about this. I've got a bead mat laying down here over my Velux blanket. Well, I'm spilling everything. This under here is a Velux blanket that I've got draped over my whole desk. And I've got just a regular bead mat on top of that. And I had a lady ask about the blanket and what I thought of it. I'm not really as happy with it as I thought I was going to be when I bought it. I like that I can drape it over my whole desk, but it's a little bit harder to pick the beads up off of it than it is the regular bead mat. The little pieces of the blanket get caught, and it's just not as easy to pick them up. So I'm going to put a bead mat down here to use. It's handy, like if the beads try to stray off of the bead mat, which they often do. The blanket keeps them from falling in the floor. I mean, I still have plenty that fall on the floor, but not as many as if I didn't have the blanket laying here. But as far as just using it as a bead mat, I'm not really happy with it for that. As far as tools, all I'm using is my scissors to cut my cord. I think that's all I'm using. Like I said, I'll try to put links in the description box for everything I'm using. I know I can go back through my order history. Most of this is from Amazon. I think I got this leather. I got it either from eBay or Etsy. I'll look and see. The fire polish beads, I'm not sure where I got them. They might have come in a dollar bead box. I was subscribed to that for a while years ago. I know I got the Eslon on Amazon, and the button came in a package like this. It was an assorted package of different finishes of these buttons. I'm sure I can find it in my order history. I think I got the macrame board on Amazon. Most everything I get on Amazon. But I'll put links, as many as I can find. I'll put links in the description box. So I'll get everything out of the way and I'll get started. Okay, I've got my macrame board here, and you don't have to have a macrame board to do this. Some people use a clipboard. Some people just tape it down to a desk. There's lots of different ways you can do it. I just like to use the macrame board. I've got my piece of leather here. I've cut off about 25 or 26 inches. I'm going to try to make about a 7.5 inch bracelet, and the leather is going to be doubled, so that would be 15. And then I always give myself an extra 10 inches or so, because I'm going to make it a loop at the end for my button to go through. And I always like to have enough rather than not enough. I'd rather have plenty than a little too much than not enough. So I'm going to take my button here, and I'm just going to put my cord through one hole of my button and then back down through the other hole. I guess I should not have tilted my camera up so much to do this. Just going to put it back through the other hole. Just like that. And now I'm just going to find both of the ends and even them up. both ends together and center my button on my cord. And now I'm going to take my little T-pin and I'm going to pin this to the top of my board here. Probably should use 2 T-pins. Hold on, let me get out. I'm going to put another T-pin in this other hole just to hold it well. Now I'm going to make sure my pieces of leather are straight or side by side, and I'm going to put the bottom in this bottom little notch of my macrame board here so that it's nice and tight. Now I've got a piece of my S-line. This is about 7 feet, probably plus a couple inches. I know that sounds like a lot, but the knots do take up a lot of room, and I usually do about a foot for each inch. And like I said, I'm gonna try to make about a 7.5 inch bracelet, and it's a real pain to get to the end of it and not have much thread left. You can add thread. It's possible to add thread, and when I make those very long multi-wrap bracelets, I have to add thread, but it's a whole lot easier if you have enough to begin with. So I'm going to just do this. Well, I hit the camera. Sorry. Didn't mean to do that. It's right up here tilted in a different way than I'm used to. I'm going to find both ends of this like I did the leather and find the center. And I got a knot in it. Hold on while I get my knot out. Okay, I got my knot out, and I found both ends of my cord here and put them together. And now I'm going to go to the other side that is my center of my cord. And I'm going to put it in under my leather. I'm going to hold it so that I don't lose my center, and I want the same amount of cord on each side of my leather. So I'm going to pull this through. And I've got a piece of tape here, and just for a minute I'm going to tape this down so that I don't lose my center. And I'm going to start the beginnings of just a regular overhand knot. I'm just going to tie this around my leather in a regular overhand knot just to get it to stay before I try to make my first square knot. This is such a long piece of cord, I can't figure out how to tie a knot in it. Okay, I'm just gonna tie a knot there. I'll take my tape off now. Now I'm gonna pull it up here to my button. Just gonna push my knot up there to my button, up and under my button. Okay, now I'm gonna make my first square knot. I'm gonna take this thread and I'm gonna make a loop that looks like a P, makes it look like a P here. And I'm gonna take this side of my cord and I'm gonna put it over this thread, under the leather, through the loop of the P, pull it through, and then I'm just going to tighten. And now I'm going to make a Q. Take this cord, put over this cord, under the leather, through the loop of the Q, pull it all through, and tighten. And I'm going to do that several times because I want to make several square knots just to get away from my button. So I'm going to probably make about 3. This is my second one. I'm going to make my P. go under the leather, through the loop of the P, pull the cord through, tighten, make my Q, take this cord, go over this cord, under the leather, through the loop of the Q, pull my cord through, take both sides of the thread and tighten. So that's 2 square knots. I'm going to make one more. I'm going to take my P, make my P, take this thread over this part of the side of the cord and put it over this cord under the leather, through the loop of the P, pull both sides of the cord and tighten, make my Q, take this cord, go over this cord under the leather, through the loop of the Q, and tighten. So that's 3 square knots. It gets me away from my button a little bit. Okay, I moved my macrame board out of the way for right now because I want to show you what I'm going to do to the ends of my cord. It doesn't matter what cord you use around to do this with, as long as the beads you're going to use will fit. As long as you can get your cord through the beads you're going to use. This cord will go through these beads. I've tried it, but sometimes it can get a little frayed at the end and it's kind of hard to get them through. So I just take my GS Hypo cement, and I have like a million of these little plastic baggies. I hoard them. So I have all kinds. And I just take a little bit of my GS Hypo and I put it on my baggie. And then close it up, because y'all know how this stuff is. It's really hard to get closed, especially since the glue just won't stop coming out of it. Bear with me, I'm trying to get it closed. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to take both ends of my cord and I'm going to lay them in my glue. And then I'm just going to take my glue or my baggie and squish it and just run my cords through that glue. I'm going to do it quite a little ways up there because most likely I'll have to cut off some of this cord as I go, the end of it. I might have to angle cut it to get it through the beads or whatever, you never know. So I'm just going to do that. I want to make sure to take them apart before they glue to each other. And just throw them a little baggy away. Like I said, got a million of them. You can do that with fingernail polish too. It'll stiffen the end some too. So I'm going to wait for this to dry a little bit, and then I'll be back. I've got both ends of my cord. They're a little stiffer than they were. I moved my work about halfway down my macrame board instead of having it at the very top. I discovered it was easier to keep it in frame if I didn't try to show the whole entire board. I don't know why I thought I needed to show the whole entire board. And I'm going to put my beads on. I intended to put several beads on and tie a little 8/0 at the end so that they wouldn't fall off, but it's too hard to make my knots with those beads on there, so I'm just going to do it one at a time. So I'm going to put one bead on each side, on each cord. And you can do this with any beads. They just need to fit on whatever cord you're using on the outside. You can use any cord, any kind of cord. You can use anything down the middle. You don't have to use leather. I'm going to push these up here. Now I'm just going to make a square knot like I've been doing. I'm going to make my P. I'm going to take this cord, go over this cord and under the leather. through the loop of the P, pull both cords there and tighten. I'm going to make the second part of my square knot. And with this S-line, since it's not waxed, you might have to tighten quite a bit to keep your knot in place. I'm going to make my Q. Take this cord, go over this cord and under the leather, through the lip of the Q, pull it all the way through, and tighten. And now you can make as many knots between the beads as you want to. You can just make one and have the beads all right next to each other. You can make several. I think I'll make two. So I'm going to make another P. Take this cord, go over this cord, under the leather, through the lip of the P, cord all the way through, tighten, make my Q, take this cord, go over this cord, and under the leather, through the lip of the Q, tighten. Now I'm going to put another bead on each side. It's handier if you can go ahead and preload a bunch of beads on, and I have done that before. It was just too hard trying to do it on camera, dealing with all those beads and trying to make the knots and making it where y'all could see. So I've put a bead on each side of my cord, and I'm going to put it up here, push it up here to where my work is. And now I'm just going to make a square knot. Pretend those beads are not even there. Make a P. Go over this, take this cord, go over this cord, under the leather, through the loop of the P, pull the cord all the way through, tighten, make a Q, take this cord, go over this cord and under the leather, through the loop of the Q, pull the thread all the way through, tighten. I'm going to make another one, make my P, take this cord, go over this cord, under the leather, through the loop of the P, pull it all the way through, tighten. Let me see if I can, I don't know if you can ever see, this is black thread. I was going to try to show you how to know if you get up and walk away, how to know which side to start on. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bump right there. Whichever side the bump on is the one you start. That I need to make my next one on this side because that's where the little bump is. So I'm going to make my Q. Take this cord, go over this cord, under the leather, through the lip of the Q, pull it all the way through and tighten. Now I'm going to zoom out a little and do one more because you might be able to see it better if I'm not zoomed in so far. I'm going to put another bead on each end of my cords. Pull them all the way up. how to get them hooked around every tool on your desk. Okay, pull them all the way up there. Now I'm going to make my P. Take this cord. Go over this cord, under the leather, through the loop of the P. Pull the cord all the way through. Tighten. Make my Q. Go over this cord, under the leather, through the loop of the Q. Pull the cord all the way through. Tighten. Make my P. Go over this cord, under the leather, through the loop of the P. Pull the cord all the way through. Tighten. Make my Q. Take this cord, go over this cord, under the leather, through the loop of the Q. Well, without dropping it, over this cord, under the leather, through the loop of the Q. Pull the cord all the way through. Tighten. Now I'm going to put on another bead, and I'm on each side. And I'm just going to keep on doing that till I get my length. I'm going to, including my button, I'm probably going to go about 5.5 inches because I want to make about a 7.5 inch bracelet, and the loop that I'm going to make for the button to go through usually takes a couple of inches. I'm going to stop though and make like 3 square knots at the other end like I did here so that the ends will match. But I'll be back before I do that. Okay, I've got down to where I'm going to just do one more bead on each side. And then I'm going to do my 3 square knots. Guess I should have put these beads on here before I turned the camera on, but I didn't. Would have saved a minute. And I have cut myself way too much cord. I'll show y'all when I'm done how much cord I've got left. It just goes to show how good I am at trying to figure out how much cord to cut. Okay, now I'm going to make my P. Take this cord, go over this cord, over the cord, under the leather, through the P, loop of the P, pull the cord all the way through, tighten. Now I'm going to make my Q, go over this cord, under the leather, through the loop of the Q, pull my thread all the way through. Sometimes you have to go tighten this cord up again if you're using not a wax cord. Tighten. Okay, now I'm going to make my 3 square knots to end it off and make it match the other side. But I'm going to take it up off and flip it over because I want to use my flexible eye needle here. I'll show you when I get it. Okay, the reason I flipped it over is because I want this part on the back, because, I mean, I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but, you know, just in case I wanted it on the back of the bracelet. I'm going to take my needle here. I can't remember if it's called a flexible eye needle or a collapsible eye needle. I always get those mixed up, but it's got that big needle or big hole there, and it's just a wire needle, very thin. I'm going to stick it in this last stitch just to hold it, with the eye part pointed down. That's the pointy part. This is the eye part. And now I'm going to make my last 3 square knots over that needle. So I'm going to make my P, go under the leather and the needle, pull it through the loop of the P, and tighten. I'm not going to tighten very much though, because I got to pull this needle through when I'm done. So I'm going to make my Q, go over this thread, under the leather and the needle, through the loop of the queue, and tighten just a little bit. That's one. I'm going to make my P. Over this cord, under the leather and the needle, and the leather and the needle, up through the loop of the P. Pull my thread all the way through. Tighten just a little bit. I don't want these to be loose, but they can't be tight because I got to get that needle back through. I'm going to make my Q. Over this bead, over this cord, under the leather, the needle, through the loop of the Q. Tighten just a little bit. Now one more. Over the P, over this cord, under the needle and the leather. Through the lip of the P. Tighten just a little. Make my Q. Over this cord, under the leather and the needle, through the loop of the Q. Tighten. Okay, now I'm gonna, let's see, get out here where you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna take one of my ends. I'm gonna get my needle here. I'm gonna put my end through my eye of my needle. And I'm going to need to take it off here for this, I think. Gonna grab the end of my needle and really, really gently pull this needle through, because it's very easy to break the eye, for the eye to split. Once it gets there, once some of the thread gets through, I pull on the thread rather than the needle. And that just brings my thread back up through those last few stitches and keeps it from coming loose. I'm still going to put some GS Hypo cement on it, but that just is a little extra security there. Now I'm going to take my needle off of this side, and I'll put it on the other side and do the same thing. I'm going to take this side, thread my needle through the eye of the needle. And now I have to put it back up through this. It wasn't already in there, so it's a little bit harder, but it's not that hard. I'm just going to push it back up through here. Just over how many I can get up through there. Well, I got it through all of them, so that's good. Now I'm going to gently pull it through. Oh, thought I was going to break the eye that time, but I didn't. Pull the thread all the way through. And there. So that brings your thread coming out up here. Takes your thread under there, and it's just a little bit extra security. Now I'm going to put a little bit of GS Hypo Cement on it. And then I'm going to cut it off. And then I'll be back and we'll make the loop. So this is how much thread I had left. So I clearly did a terrible job of measuring. I've got a lot of thread. I had way too much thread. But I'll save that. I can use it for something. Okay, now I'm going to go down here. I'll take my button here and see how big a loop I need to make. Need to go about right there, I guess. I'm just going to make an overhand knot. Bring it down there. Before I tighten it, I'm going to make sure my button can go through there. That it's not too big and it's not too little. I guess I can tighten it down just a little bit more. Bring it a little closer, make the loop a little bit smaller. Try it again. Yeah, I think that's good. I'm just going to tighten it. Hold on to the knot and tighten it up real good. Pull on each piece of leather. Get it good and tight. And now I'm just going to clip off the ends. And I'm done. Now, I'll get all this stuff out of the way. So there we go. There's my little macrame bracelet with the beads on the outside. It came out shorter than I meant for it to. I just measured wrong in this whole bracelet because it only came out to be 7 inches when I was going for 7.5, but that's okay. There's a lot of people that wear 7-inch bracelets. Macrame is really fun to do. I really enjoy it, and there's a lot I'll do another one maybe sometime. You can make the beads on the outside and you can do them where they're like zigzag and kind of a staggered way. I might do that sometime if you all are interested in that. As always, thank you all so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope you all have a great day. Take care.